Hey everyone, and welcome. Today, we are diving deep into something that's absolutely critical for anyone in the markets, trading psychology. All the insights we're covering today come from a brilliant summary of Dr. Alexander Elder's classic book, The New Trading for a Living, by the YouTube channel, The Book Digest. So let's just jump right in.
So, let's start with a really brutal number. Did you know that a staggering 90% of people who start trading end up losing their money? I mean, think about that. 9 out of 10 fail. That's just an insane failure rate. So, the big question is, why?
The first thing everyone assumes is, well, they must not have the right strategy. They're missing that one magic indicator or that secret formula for picking winners, right? But is that really what's going on here?
According to Dr. Elder, who's not just a pro trader but also a psychiatrist, the answer is a hard no. The real problem isn't the trading system. The real battlefield is that space between your ears. It all comes down to psychology.
So here's our roadmap for today. We're going to break down the trader's real problem, introduce Dr. Elder's three-legged stool idea, then walk through each of those pillars, mind, method, and money, and wrap it all up with a clear path to get you thinking like a pro.
All right, so first things first. We have to completely reframe how we see the market. It's not some abstract entity. It's a crowd, a massive, emotional, and often irrational crowd.
And this right here is the core idea. Every single tick up or down on a chart is just a snapshot of the collective hope, fear, and greed of millions of people. You're not trading stocks, you're trading the emotional state of the crowd.
Okay, so if you're up against this giant wave of human emotion, how on earth do you navigate it and come out on top? Well, Dr. Elder gives us a really powerful and simple framework he calls the three-legged stool.
These are what he calls the 3 M's of trading. You've got mind, which is your psychology, method, which is your strategy and analysis, and money, which is your risk management. You need all 3, no exceptions.
And the analogy is just perfect, isn't it? Think about it. You take away just one leg from a three-legged stool, and what happens? The whole thing instantly falls apart. Trading is exactly the same. You could have the world's best strategy, but if your mindset or your risk management is off, you are going to fail. Period.
And this is really the key difference between the amateurs and the pros. Amateurs get completely obsessed with just the method, finding that next holy grail indicator. They're in it for the thrill, the excitement. They're emotional. Pros, they focus on balancing all 3 M's. They couldn't care less about excitement. They want boring consistency. They just execute their plan day in and day out.
So let's break this down. And we're going to start with the most important leg of the stool, your mind. Honestly, this is where 90% of people lose the game before they even really start. It's all about discipline.
I love this quote from Dr. Elder because it's so true. When you hold on to a losing trade, refusing to cut it loose, what are you doing? You're letting your ego drive. That position isn't a trade anymore. It's become a monument to your inability to admit you were wrong, and that is deadly in the market.
So, Dr. Elder points out these 4 classic traits of losing traders. 1, they're trading for the adrenaline rush, not for consistent profit. 2, their ego is so big they just can't take a small loss. 3, they're impulsive, trading on a whim with no real plan. And 4, they don't keep a trading journal, so they're doomed to repeat the same mistakes over and over again.
All right, let's move on to the second pillar, your method. Now, this is the part everyone loves to geek out on, but its real purpose is not what most people think. It's not about predicting the future. See, the key is to think of a chart as a footprint of the crowd's psychology. Technical analysis works simply because human emotions, fear and greed, tend to repeat in patterns. So your job isn't to guess what's next, it's to identify the main trend, which way the crowd is running, and just go with it. Trying to fight the trend is like trying to swim up a waterfall.
And this brings us to the final and maybe the most crucial pillar of them all, money management. This is what separates the survivors from the casualties. This isn't about offense. It's 100% about defense.
And Dr. Elder gives us the single most important rule for survival. It's called the 2% rule, and it's simple. You should never, ever risk more than 2% of your total trading capital on any one trade. This is what keeps you in the game. It makes it mathematically impossible for one bad trade to wipe you out. And then there's a second layer of protection, the 6% rule. This one says that the total risk you have on the table across all of your open trades combined should never be more than 6% of your account. This stops you from getting overexposed when the whole market decides to move against you.
So how do you actually put this into practice? Well, it all comes down to position sizing, and the math is actually super simple. Step 1, figure out your max dollar risk. That's just 2% of your account value. Step 2, figure out your risk per share. That's the difference between where you get in and where your stop loss is. Step 3, just divide your max dollar risk by your risk per share. Boom. That number tells you exactly how many shares to buy. It takes all the guesswork and emotion out of it.
Okay, so we've looked at the mind, the method, and the money. Now let's put it all together. What does the path to becoming a professional trader actually look like?
Let's just do a quick recap of the biggest takeaways. First, you need all 3 M's. They're not optional. Second, that 2% rule, that's your lifeline. Third, always trade with the trend. Fourth, you have to keep a detailed trading journal. It's your personal coach. And finally, always remember, this game is maybe 20% strategy and 80% psychology.
And that really leads to a final, pretty profound question to think about. The market gives you instant, unfiltered feedback on your own flaws, your impatience, your fear, your greed. So, is it just a vehicle for making money? Or is it actually one of the most powerful tools out there for mastering yourself?
Look, if any of this resonated with you and you want to go deeper, and you really should, the content for this entire explainer was inspired by an absolutely fantastic and much more detailed summary of Dr. Elder's work.
You can find it on the YouTube channel, The Book Digest. They do incredible work breaking down essential books on trading, business, and finance. So if you found this helpful, do yourself a favor. Head over to their channel, hit that subscribe button, and check out their stuff. It might just be the best trade you make all year. Thanks so much for watching.